Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. I don't know why I bother saying that. You've already clicked on this, but we're going to do it anyway. Today we have Tyler and Catrina for Lexington Comic Con. Now, Catrina didn't tell me every year you come on because Jared's too big of a wuss to do the show, and he's a dick, and nobody likes him, and he's angry. What else can we say about him before he gets?
Smells bad, but most people can't find him to get close enough to discover that.
That's because he hides from it.
Yeah.
Hey, and you all were on the news the other day. I was totally jealous. I actually said to somebody, I was like, there used to be another chubby bearded guy next to her. Look at this one.
I did so well they put me on the Weather Channel a few days later.
Yeah.
Yeah, which will bring me to, so real quick, southeastern, eastern Kentucky, a lot of flooding lately. That's where I'm from. It's where James is from. It's where Katrina, it's where we're all from. So I know that you've been doing a lot in Beattyville, and Beattyville's good. But you were just telling me if people want to help out, they need to contact basically county to county, right?
Yeah, whatever county you want to help in, reach out to someone there, preferably somebody in emergency management or in flood recovery. Oftentimes, everybody has the same idea. We need to take mops, we need to take brooms, and we need to take water. And if we're 5 days post flood, I can assure you they've probably got enough mops and brooms and water. But they do have other things they need you might not think of, like rubber gloves or dust masks or storage bins or a million other things from situation to situation. And they would love to have you help, but you'll have a much bigger impact if you just give a call ahead.
So one of the things that you shocked me with, and Chad and I went down, and I think we volunteered for the day, but one of the things you all shocked me with was the pillows.
Yeah, 2022, a lot of homes in Breathitt County were devastated and folks were displaced and they were in shelters and the shelters had bedrolls and mats, but folks didn't have a pillow. And it was, I can distinctly remember you saying how heartwarming it was to hand a pillow to someone and see their reaction for such a creature comfort in such a hard time.
I remember you talking about it, and then we ended up taking some pillows down, and you're right, they went quick. Bottles of water sitting there for years. The pillows were going quick as soon as we walked through the door. So if people want to help, I know being always we're usually joking around and goofing, but it's tough. It's our home. Well, we're originally from, and if you want to help out, just go to county to county, and I appreciate everything you're doing. Now, let's talk about something positive.
All right.
The damn panel schedule is about ready to get done.
Yeah.
I was listening to you all the other day, Katrina, you and Jared on your Facebook Live, which I'm actually happy that you all started doing. Has it helped?
I think we answered a lot of questions that people maybe don't always see the answer to when they're like scrolling our page, but it feels more direct when it's on a Facebook Live. Fair warning, I have all of my dogs here, so you'll probably hear a lot of panting and an occasional
It's
like just absolute chaos to the side.
no, if I hear panting, I know who it is. I know
Yeah.
who it is, Tyler. I know who it is. But well, that's okay. Fair warning, there's a guy outside my house building a deck, so you're going to hear panting on one side and screwing on the other.
It's an adult show.
I don't
Slightly.
I couldn't have planned that. I didn't know she was going to say panting.
I don't know.
So is the schedule for the panels done yet? Or are we still going to add some more? Notice
It
how
is
I'm asking the things that really only concern me.
it is 98% done. You do have a wings panel.
I saw that.
You have weekend at Bernie's.
Yes.
And fun fact, we just added a fourth weekend at Bernie's person, so you'll have a big panel.
Can I announce it? I didn't see it.
Yeah, Catherine, is it Catherine Mary Stewart?
Yeah.
I always want to flip it. I want to call her Mary Catherine, but it's Catherine Mary Stewart.
Catherine
So
Mary Stewart. Yeah, she's in a ton of 80s movies and should be cool for a lot of people to get different things signed. So
I don't know
yeah,
if it's
go
at this
ahead.
point, though, but you almost need to pantomime and have Mike come in and work you like a puppet for the panel. I don't know
I'd
if
be
that would
okay.
be
I
humor, but I would.
Well, I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay. So we never get you both on here. Katrina usually does it because Jared doesn't want to because once again it's fine. He smells like you said. Nobody can ever get close enough to find out.
Well,
But
today is because Jared doesn't know how to keep track of his own schedule.
that's true. That's true. But I was just saying before we started record. Well, no, I don't know if I said it before we started recording. We're recording. You have been doing more and more with the convention, man. So tell me, what's your new job? Look at her.
Uh,
Oh, you
we
cheating
just make up
punk.
titles all the time. So I started out as the fan area coordinator.
Yes.
I got that job because I was in all the fan groups that were setting up at Lexington Comic Con. It was much easier to have one point of contact than five. And then I grew from there. So that became my job to get all the large props and everything set up in that pre-function area in the old building. And then somehow I got to become a guy who was controlling lines on the celebrity autograph floor and it just moved from there. So they gave me a fancy title this year and made me a celebrity floor manager and even have a picture with my name and everything.
Did you get that
So
wanky ass Brandon badge?
I don't know if I'm up that high. Well, I don't know if Brandon's up that high yet. You know, that's a phrase he probably doesn't get very often, but I don't know if I rank that high on the totem pole just yet.
So,
Maybe one day.
Mr. Phillips, Miss Hencye, I will say this that every time somebody goes short guy, I've went out of my way not to say anything about Brandon because I never, here's what I always tell myself, which is funny because if anybody knows me, I can be insulting if I think somebody's going to laugh, but I always tell myself, do you really want them to go, Fat Joe?
That's fair.
Oh, who's
Well,
the,
I mean,
you
a
know,
guy
the
made a whole
fat guy,
career
the
out of that in
fat
the 90s.
the fat guy that's on the stage every year, the one we have to suffer through. I don't know. Do we need that? I don't know. So I try never to call, but I also don't want to call him Little Brandon. But also, there's several different Brandons, so it
Yeah.
really gets kind of confusing.
You start calling him Fancy Brandon. He always has a polo shirt on.
Yeah.
That's
He looks more
true.
professional than the rest of us at the event.
That's true. That's true. And he's always running with his ibuprofen. So you've moved up, sir, and look, you're at
Sure.
the office today working.
Fancy Pants McGee over here.
I like that shirt, by the way. If you're listening to us and not, he has a really cool Star Wars shirt, and I just happen to have a Star Wars hat, and just like the panting and screwing, it just happened to happen.
Worked out real well. But, it's better than any of that dirty Trek stuff.
That's true. That's true. I actually like Star Trek. We just did an episode. Hey, we heard the smell. Are those donuts?
No, no, no.
Why did your mind automatically?
Because I'm Fat Joe. Thank you for setting me up with that, James. Sorry, I've taken over, James. James, do you have questions? Or you just gonna let me talk?
Well, I didn't want to interrupt, and it would be hard to get a word in.
So back to what we're. Go ahead, James.
I was going to say, Catherine Mary Stewart, by the way, is a cool get because if for people that don't know, if you're a video game nerd enough, she also did voice work for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, I didn't realize she did that.
Yeah, yeah. So for the youth that may be more familiar with the video, hold on, let me be my father. The video games than they are the movies. There you go.
So this year, what big changes do we have? I know you guys are doing the Facebook Live that I think a lot of people do appreciate.
One big change is we're moving an area of our vendor floor, the artist alley, the crafting area, the places where you go buy things that people made, not necessarily comic books or pop figures or something like that, but something handmade or hand illustrated. It's going to be moving down to level 2, where the game room and things used to be. As you go down the escalator, it's off to the right. We're trying to spread out and make a little more room so our walkways are wider open on the vendor floor, so it's easy to walk around and everything's uniform in a block structure. And then give those folks a little more room to spread out and breathe and try to spread our crowd out a little bit so that we don't have so much congestion, because we weren't really utilizing that second level area very well as far as putting people over there to spread it out.
Yeah.
We're going to move some of our panels to that area, so the hallway of death on level 2, where photo ops are, will not be quite such a hallway of death. You'll actually be able to catch your breath in there this year.
Hopefully.
Fingers
Oh,
crossed.
are the photo ops still going to be next to room 345?
Yeah,
Yep.
photo
Yeah,
ops will
it'll be
stay in
the hallway. It's still going to be the hallway of death.
Yeah, for sure.
The game room is moving back to the Hyatt this year.
Yeah. Why did
Yeah,
we
so
move it back to the Hyatt?
Extended hours. The game room can stay open later if we have it over there. The game room is popular for a certain crowd of people that come to Comic Con. They love the game room. They utilize it heavily. And it's a good place to stop and sit down and catch your breath. But when we had it at the convention center, when the center closed, the game room had to close. And there were some people in the middle of a campaign or middle of a game of Dungeons and Dragons, or not Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, or any other thing.
Well, it could
And
be
now,
Dungeons and Dragons. Oh.
yeah, it could be. But now they can finish that out or find a stopping point instead of being forced to quit when the clock strikes.
Yeah, no, a friend of mine, I think a lot of the kids use it. I know her kids use it, and they just kind of. I think it's a, for lack of a better word, I think there's certain parents, and I'll call her out. Well, I won't call out her name. They're like, "Oh, you can go hang out here for a couple of hours while I actually go have a good time."
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did lose a child that way one year.
Yeah.
Did
Well,
you
we
really?
didn't. We found a child.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't lost. He knew where he was, and he was happy to be there. He just hadn't reported to Dad where he was going to be. So we
Yeah.
had a panic parent just for a short amount of time. But Dad had a real good suspicion that he might be over there. So once we linked him up, it was fine.
I've lost sunglasses, but I've yet to lose my child. Speaking of which, the last two we've done of these, they weren't in Lexington, and both times someone stole sunglasses off the stage from me.
Well, you got to quit wearing such cool sunglasses.
I'm still angry about you have no idea. I'm still mad about it.
Why do you have sunglasses on in Owensboro?
Oh, because it was the sun was out when we walked over. That was the first, and that was the pair that really pissed me off because I love those Ray-Bans.
Well, now, Joe, in
No,
all
actually,
fairness,
my the good that was a good, and then my classic one somebody stole at that's a good question. Where did
You're a
they?
celebrity now, Joe. People just want to get a piece of it.
That's not
yeah, I
it.
was about to say,
I
Joe,
think they just
would
want
it
a
make
piece
you
of Ray-Bans. What?
would it make you feel better, Joe, if you found out later on that there's like they've made their own version of you, perhaps out of mashed potatoes, and it's wearing the like they needed the glasses for the voodoo doll to work or something?
No, but James did have this made for me this year. It's called Scarefest Joe. I think we maybe want do one that's called just Panel Joe or something later, or maybe Comic Con Joe. I think it's kind of cool where I'm not holding a pumpkin, so maybe you can get those on through us. So that's a big
Brown M&M.
change. I do
Exactly.
I do want to go through a few things because I do want people to be able to listen to this and kind of help out if they're not catching the Facebook lives and stuff. I want you all to talk about this a little bit, but man, do we need to highly encourage people to go ahead and check in and get their tickets before Friday and Saturday? Can we
Oh,
talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
Wednesday and Thursday, my friends.
Yeah.
If you're in town, check in.
Anyone who can check in will have a much better experience at Comic Con if they check in early, because you'll see that Wednesday there's no line. You can just walk in, scan your code, do whatever you need to do at admissions. They'll hand you your badge, and now you're set when the day shows up. And we open the doors on the day of the con. The doors that say "I have a badge," that line moves in immediately. There's no step and stop, step and stop. You're just in.
Yeah.
And if you check in early, there's a lot less people out there waiting in line because some folks can't do it early, but you'll make that line a lot shorter, and everybody will have a better time.
If you're in Lexington, actually, you know what? I'm going to say if you're in Richmond, Winchester, Nicholasville, I don't, there is no Georgetown. It's worth the 10, 15 minutes to drive your ass down the high street, sneak in real quick and check in to have keep from having to deal with the crazy that is Saturday and the crazy that's become Friday it's not even you. I just most conventions Friday is just crazy now, or is it just me?
No, it's
No,
definitely getting there.
It, I,
uh, for us, we have so many guests that will appear all 3 days. So there's no reason if the person you want to meet isn't just a Saturday only guest, there's no reason to not to spread your time out and utilize some lower traffic days.
I agree. In fact, our panels. So, do you all think that's interesting that over the last few years, Friday has just become more and more popular? I wonder why that is. I mean, we open fairly early Friday.
I think Saturday has just become so congested and such a popular day that people who have the ability and the option to come Friday are choosing to come because a lot of our guests are all 3 days.
Hmm.
And you get a much shorter line. You have more time to shop the vendor floor. You get first crack at things on the vendor floor. And it's just as the event has grown, the culture has grown, and the crowd has been trained. They understand what a Comic Con is now. Maybe a decade ago they didn't, and they know that at some point in time I'm going to have to stand in a line. So the sooner I can knock that out, the better experience I'm going to have, and the more fun I'm going to have while I'm there.
Now, one of the interesting things about Lexington Comic Con, as we went through the years, is that we're open on Thursday. And forgive me, I don't want to say we because I've been around now for close to a freaking decade. So even though Tyler's replaced me, I still want to be the cheap Jack Kmart version of Tyler Phillips. And you know I love you, right? You know
I do very much.
sorry. I just realized it's like I think he knows I'm playing with him, but maybe he doesn't. Okay.
All right,
I'll play with you more later in person.
cool.
The thing is that let's talk a little bit about Thursday because Thursday for you shopping people is the day to go. Because I hear this, oh no, wait till Sunday, prices drop. That's not how this shit works at all, folks. If you've never been to a convention, it's not. If you think it's cool and you think that's a really good price on that and they only have two, you better grab it because it won't be there Sunday.
Yeah, if you're willing to wait to Sunday to try to get a lower price, you have to be willing to accept that it's probably not gonna be there.
It's just
You know,
not. The
Yeah.
vendors do not have a problem with our 4 days. So, but it's not every convention that does the 4 days. So, do you all want to talk a little bit about Thursday and what that's like and the reason behind it?
so Thursday started just as the comic preview night because I will say 90% of our comic guests are going to be on site at their booth, ready to meet people. So for the people that aren't interested in all the celebrities but want to shop or want to meet the comic guests, it's the best time to come get in line, talk to them. If you want a sketch or a commission, I mean, if you're not there Thursday, you are missing out on an opportunity to get on the list because by Saturday afternoon, they're not going to have time, usually.
Yeah.
There's been times it's like, oh, I forgot to talk to you. I want a commission. They're like, I'll mail it to you. So it's like, oh yeah, crap. Even I'm late to the game.
Oh,
Yeah, and
right.
there's a lot of them get busy with lines on Saturday, so they don't have time to sketch. So they have a very limited space on their list for what they can do. And if one guy shows up on Thursday and gets 4 full-page sketches, that might be the entire list. Nobody else may be able to get on there. So if those are important to you, you need to get there. If you want to try and avoid a crowd and celebrities aren't necessarily your thing, you can have a lot of fun at Lexington Comic Con on Thursday. Everything else is open. All the vendors are there. There's
Yep,
things to see. People will be in costume, and the crowd is a lot more manageable.
it is, but it's gotten bigger too.
It has
I
very much
noticed it
so.
last year because Thursday is a really good time. Thursday, I have no responsibilities, and it's nice because it's a good time for me to walk around with my kid and have him shop and look. And then Sunday, know that I'll end up having to, even though I've told him you're only getting one thing, that I will end up having to buy him something on Thursday and more minifigs on Sunday, if that sounds about right. But that being said, Thursday is a good time, even though it's getting more and more, and people have got, it's like, oh, I'm going to get, especially the ones who just get the weekend pass.
Well, and Thursdays also, it's later in the day, so people can come after work. So if you want to shop, but you plan on coming getting an autographs on Saturday or Sunday or
Mhm.
Friday, it's great. But if you want to shop and you can come after work on Thursday, you take some of the heat off yourself with just carrying bags and trying to store stuff. I mean, nothing's worse when you buy a bunch of stuff at a con and then you're like, well, I have to walk around for 6 hours to do all these things I want to do, but also have arms full of bags.
The door opened. Did somebody walk in, or is he actually going?
Ghosts
Is he
haunted.
actually going to get on and say hi or do something? Or
He's
is
not
he?
even in here. This house is built on an ancient burial ground. I don't
Oh,
know
is
if
that
it's
his new house? I haven't. I've not been because I'm the cheap Jack Tyler. I'm going to start calling myself Kmart Tyler. We need to make a name, the picture, and it's just me, and it says Kmart Tyler on
Well,
it.
we should have done this enough time to order more ribbons.
No, it's okay.
Oh man, we thought we found a grave marker, like an old grave marker in the yard, but Jared used it for a sunstone for a lizard, so we're not even sure what it is anymore.
A sunstone for a lizard. I swear to God, sir, you have. If no one ever has, and you probably, hopefully, you won't, but there's nothing better than a good Tyler Phillips green room story about Beattyville. No, no, I saw his sweet lack
Oh
of ass walk out the door. The boss is like me. Neither
yeah,
one of us have
yeah.
got
I
a
like
booty.
that people will taste of rural Kentucky when they visit.
Yeah.
They can all go home with a good story.
Can I tell something about you? I won't tell the story, but you had at
Sure.
least 1 year, and it wasn't in Lexington. I think it was in Huntington. It might have been the first year of Owensboro. But I looked, and there was five celebrities who usually like the staff are over on one table, and you don't bother the celebs. But the celebs were crowded around listening to Tyler tell a Beattyville story about some, and I'm
That's
not
not
gonna.
it.
Yeah.
Does that, am I, Katrina? It's happened more than once. It's just that one's clear in my
It had
mind.
happened.
Uh,
It's happened more than once, and they're all just sitting there like this, just like this.
Yeah.
And he was talking
You're
about this, yeah, about this one lady who lives in town who's maybe a prostitute or whatnot. I'm not going to say her name, and just the shenanigans that everybody gets into in small Eastern Kentucky towns where everyone knows
Oh,
literally everything about everyone.
sure. The worst part about my stories is I'm often afraid that people don't believe what I'm telling them, but there's only this much embellishment to move the story along, but entirely based on fact all the way through.
Well, plus the search and rescue story.
Oh, yeah, there's never a shortage.
Search and rescue. So I noticed
So
that
if you don't know, Tyler wears many hats in Beattyville.
Sure.
what? What did you say? You cut out?
Tyler wears many hats in Beattyville.
Yeah, you're the county court clerk. What else?
I was the head of search and rescue. Now I'm just a search and rescue member. I have been the fire chief, and now I'm just a member of the fire department. I've worked with emergency management. I've sold you hamburgers at the Dairy Queen. I used to make your pizza at the Pizza Hut before we shut it down. Just a little bit of everything here and there.
I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate the
on one or two occasions. I don't know that is authorized, but I've driven an ambulance and stolen a police car. So
I've stolen a
I've
police
done a
car
little.
too.
Oh,
I am the
did you?
Kmart version of you.
I got a little
Remind
bit.
me to tell you this one next week.
Okay, deal.
Morehead State University.
Oh,
Oh gosh.
Yep. I will tell you this story later. All right. So, but now that I've moved from Thursday, let's start talking about Friday. Friday opens early. What time? 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock?
12.
12. And where did you bear? So every year you all are so kind and sweet to let us do a live show from the Comic Con, from the Lexington Comic Con, from the biggest Comic Con in the state of Kentucky. And where did you bury our live show? Do you know?
I don't, because Jared built that schedule. This is all his fault.
Well, you tell that SOB that he buried us at 1 o'clock on Friday. But what I'm hoping is that people are going to be standing outside in line for the 2 o'clock Bill and Ted one, and they'll just come on in.
Bill and Ted, you best
They're just going to come on in.
bonehead.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're going to come on in. So we still need to get a guest for that. But I'm excited about that one. I'm also excited about the Wings one. I can't wait to meet Steven Weber.
what a good show.
It is a good show, but I
Yeah.
know them from other things. Oddly enough, him and Tim Daly both did Stephen King miniseries.
Yep.
Yep,
Then
Storm of the
he,
Century. Go
yeah,
ahead.
did some horror movies too, right?
I think so. Yeah, don't worry. I'll be ready by the time we roll. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about. So we've got a bunch of that are a little early on that. I was trying to look at the schedule while we went with that. You've also got some other people doing some fan pay. I'm excited. I've met Trejo. Have you guys met Trejo before?
I haven't, but I've heard nothing but wonderful things.
What are you all laughing about? What's going on? Talk about it.
The door keeps, it's haunted. Yeah.
No, does he keep walking
Just
in?
definitely breaking things.
Yeah.
No, it's just by itself. Tell you.
Also, were you trying to make him mad earlier and tell him I still have a full size one sheet of Texas chainsaw that he does not, I can see have right there?
Noted.
Noted.
You were going to talk about fan panels. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, so we do have some people doing some fan panels.
Yeah. Highly
Yeah.
encouraged every year. If you have a fan group who is interested in a panel, don't be afraid to ask. I'm sure lots of our fans and people who visit Lexington Comic Con are familiar with Dragon Con down in Atlanta. And Dragon Con's schedule is highly fan driven because people wanted to try something and some of it stuck. And we would love to give you the opportunity to try something. We have a recurring panel every year of a local belly dancer group. And it's never the biggest panel, but the people who go are excited every year. And there's a few more every year. So maybe by Lexington Comic Con 2035, that'll be a panel that is standing room only. We've got some guys this year that's a lightsaber group out of Western Kentucky. They're going to do a lightsaber demonstration and talk about groups who do lightsaber dueling and how to build a lightsaber and get a group started. We've got the 501st is going to do a costuming panel and talk about how to construct costumes. I think some of our lady cosplay guests are going to do something very similar, right? I'm sure they'll touch on some
Right.
things other than hardware pieces. They'll talk about wigs and cloth and sewing and lots of things that I don't know, but are fantastic crafts and skills that people build on. But if you have a fan panel and you want to talk about, you know, classic mud show wrestling or whatever, we would love to hear your ideas and we would love to integrate some of that. Let you be a part of the show. Come and find your people, you know?
Yeah, James and I, because we've had several different people on the show over the years, and when we've talked about conventions, I think a lot of people who don't go to conventions have a misconception that conventions are just autograph shows. And there is a certain part of that. And I have been to conventions that I think are just autograph shows. And I'm not going to say who they are on here, but I've never worked for them. But there are some that are, to me, they are just kind of get your signature and roll out shows. But conventions aren't really about that. They're part of it. It's a big part of it. But they have enriched my life of the people that
Yeah.
I've met that I never would have met beforehand just because you accidentally, for example, you two. I
Yeah.
mean, well, maybe not you two, but other wonderful people, other wonderful, great people that you just kind of, and James, you want to talk about that a little bit because you've had other, because James is our
Yeah,
resident
yeah. I mean,
wrecker. Don't get mad, Tyler. He loves to.
I actually prefer the term Trekkie, but okay. No, no. I think I mean,
Oddly
actually, oddly
enough, a
enough,
famous Star
William
Trek person
Shatner.
told me to stop saying Trekkie and to say Trekker.
Other ones have said it the other way around. I've got notes anyway. But I think that the thing about it is, and William Shatner in his book Get a Life made the comment that eventually a good convention you go see other fans, you go to be around that community, you go to, and I think there's a lot of validity to that. And echoing what Joe said, though, I do recommend, and Thursday is a great time to do it. Go and walk the comic creators. See, I have discovered so many things that I absolutely love from meeting authors where now I have there's bookshelves over here. I'm not pointing at nothing. There's, where my bookshelf now has authors I discovered going to these conventions and realizing, oh, that book sounds interesting. And often it's no more expensive than it would be at a bookstore, and they'll sign it for you while you're there. And so, I've got Charles Edward Pogue signed Dragonheart, and I didn't even realize he was going to be at the convention I was at, but I've got the novelization that he wrote the screenplay and the novel, and he signed the novel for me. And so that's one of the things, just echoing what Joe said. And again, doing, I don't want to say a push, but being able to walk around and discover things that you're going to love that you didn't know existed happens at these conventions. You meet people, you get to see things that you haven't seen before. And I'll be honest, walking around and seeing the cosplay that goes on, echoing some of these panels, there are people that I'll throw on a Ghostbuster jumpsuit, and that's pretty much what I'm going to do. But the amount of dedication that we have, I think Joe, Chad, and I have a photo with an alien, a xenomorph from Alien that was just phenomenally well done.
He's
Shows that
leaving
come from
off that
Lexington.
it had a dog collar around its neck and was a leash, and there was a little bit more to the whole cosplay
Well,
that
listen,
even
listen.
better.
The xenomorph part, though, was like the fact that that was I assume, human being. I didn't do a DNA test
Did
in the
not.
costume is amazing, right? You have because I don't have the mindset to where I could do that. So yeah, absolutely. Echoing what Joe said, so much of what happens at a convention is discovering great new things and discovering things that, it may not replace whatever brought you to the convention. In my case, usually it's Star Trek stuff that got me going to cons in the first place. But now I go for so much more than that. And it's not just to meet the celebrity. That's maybe one part of it. But it really is just walking around and being surrounded by the creativity and the brilliance of other people and saying, oh, it's really cool. And there's also something, quite frankly, and this is the final thing that I'll say about this. If you do have kids and you're thinking, hey, how's this going to work with kids? One of my favorite memories, and it does come from Lexington Comic Con. A few years back, I can't remember how many years back, you all may know better, but John Wesley Shipp, I believe, was a guest. And my son was the world's biggest Flash fan, and I had told him like, oh, that he played the Flash in the version that was out when I was younger. And I've told this story several times. It's one of my favorite stories about my son, though, because he was still young enough to where he rode on my shoulder through the con floor and nonstop. Like we got up that morning, and I told him, "Hey, we're going to go meet." the guy that played Flash when I was a kid plays the Flash's dad on your
I feel
show.
like we're interviewing James now. Keep going,
Well,
James.
no, and so we're literally going through the floor. He's on my shoulder. He didn't shut up from the time he woke up that morning. I'm gonna go meet the Flash. I'm gonna go meet the Flash. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna go because I showed him the John Wesley ship as a Flash. We get to the convention. We get up to John Wesley ship. John Wesley ship, phenomenally kind man, looks at my son, goes, "What's your name?" My son shuts completely down. Like he is just awestruck that the Flash is standing in front of him. Cannot speak. John Wesley ship, phenomenal. We got the signature, we got everything else. And then my son, about 3 minutes into this interaction, finally goes, "Silas, my name's Silas." And just he woke back up. The shock wore off. But I say all that to say there's something else you get out of a convention too if you have children and you take your children and you see how they respond to being surrounded by all this stuff too. And knowing that that's part of it for me now as well. So I say all that to say, not to sound like a commercial for conventions in general, but I am. I think there's so much that happens at these that goes beyond just the celebrity. So I do encourage you, echoing what Joe said, and I'll stop talking now. But everything that can happen and becomes really relevant.
Yeah,
He said
if
he
I can
was
piggyback on real quick before Joe jumps back
no.
in all my years with Lexington Comic Con, back years and years ago when I started and I was working at a fan table with the 501st, there was a lady who came to Comic Con. I won't say her name, but younger lady wore a cowboy hat every day. She wore a cowboy hat. She kind of stuck out in the crowd. And then the next year I noticed her with her cowboy hat, but she was pregnant. And then the next year she was pushing a baby stroller. And I've literally watched that girl grow up year after year after year from literally coming into existence to being pushed around by her mom at Comic Con to now she comes in her own little costumes and she has the things that she's excited to see. And one thing I'm interested is in 15 or 20 years when she's an adult, how creative and how outgoing and how free of a person will she be because she was raised with a childhood where she gets to be around so much free expression and people can let loose and be themselves. They don't have to be reserved and serious and grown up all the time. When I was a kid, I was the nerdy kid in my school. I liked the comic books. I bought them at the grocery store, and there were a few of us. But yeah, I know who would have thought. I was never picked on or ostracized for that. But a lot of people were, and the world has changed. The meek have definitely inherited the earth, and the nerds have taken over. So I'm curious to see like what kind of person will she grow up into, and how. So it is fun to see our world through the eyes of children who get to come and experience these things and see that the Flash is not just a guy on TV. The Flash is real. Like you can't do that at home. Like it's hard to impress that on a kid, and then just to see the magic in their eyes when they do see that, and he's really right there. So I mean, your story is very heartwarming. I think I see it a lot of parents, especially when we have guests who are child centric, like the year we had Blues Clues, or the year we've had people from Bluey, or any other thing, SpongeBob especially, because parents who grew up on SpongeBob are bringing their kids, and both of them had that magic and that twinkle in their eyes, like he's right there, he's
Tom
really here.
Tom Kenny does a fantastic job with every guest. I've never people always ask me, and I know you all get asked this too, like who was a big asshole or whatever. And I try not to say. I never say on record, but Tom Kenny, no, I've never.
No,
No, even
national
even when he
treasure.
was
And if you're
drunk.
the last guy in line, yeah. If you're the last guy in line, you get an experience just as great as the first person that morning. I don't know where he finds the energy.
I don't either.
I don't, a direct line to Red Bull and secret sauce or what, but that man just doesn't stop
I
all
have.
day.
I'm sure you all have seen it too. I've seen him in the corridors back of the house, or somebody have their kid, and him take the time to stop, and they weren't even trying to get the kid. They were just like, "Oh, what's your name?" and just give them part of him. And
Yeah.
sorry, back to what you were saying, Tyler. People do ask. I do get asked my favorite part, and one of my favorite parts is it's always making those children's eyes just
Yeah.
sparkle, or just giving them a
And,
moment, or maybe just pulling them out of the audience and letting them actually do a question in the middle of all of it.
yeah. And it's not just for kids. I mean, adults can
No,
have
of
that
course not.
sparkle, but we're all kind of old and jaded, and we don't get that cute little grin on our face the way children do. So it's easy to see it in kids. And as grown-ups, we try to act cool and collected, even though inside we're all giddy and everybody's going crazy.
No, I don't try to act that cool unless I'm just not that good at it. I was going to say earlier too, I don't know how well you and James know each other, but Tyler hates Ghostbusters. So when you were talking about that earlier, he does. I'm sorry. He's a huge fan and was giving me advice on what jumpsuit I should buy. So because I actually bought a HasLab and it was one of the first times I've ever tried to, not really cosplay, but that's the only thing I ever want to dress up as anyway.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
big Funimation guy. My Ghostbusters feature a gorilla, and it stops there.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Hey, my kid's such a fan. He has the series. He has it.
Yeah.
I can hear it in the background go Ghostbusters. He'll watch it from time to time, going, well, no, it's not, but it's still cool. I'm like, yeah, I know. I understand.
Listen, if it doesn't have storage in it, is it really Ghostbusters? That's a joke for two people. I
Two
don't know.
old people out there. Two old people. All right. So getting back to we're on Saturday. Have we sold out of Saturday tickets yet? Because we will.
We have not sold out.
We absolutely will.
We
We
absolutely will.
will.
I wish I could say we didn't. One day, we'll build another convention center and not have to. But until that day comes.
It's just going to happen, and it's not me being. People ask me all the time, "Well, it's like no, don't. If you only got Saturday and Saturday's the only day, get your ticket now. It will sell out." I
We
just
have
wanted
sold
to.
out of the Saturday, Sunday.
So we're sold out of the Saturday,
So the
Sunday.
2 day passes are gone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a panel Saturday. There's several, but real quick for me, because I'm the only person, and I'm not going to say anything negative, who has all positive interactions with a certain person. Do you want to guess who it is?
No. Jared.
I'm curious to see how this goes for me. Have you all thought about this?
I think it'll be fine.
I think it will be too. And I'm trying to and if you and by the way, I think both of you know that I actually do spend a lot of time of I'm going to ask this thing to start it off to make sure it's different from other people. But do you know
Yeah.
how hard it is to ask a 90-year-old man something he hasn't been asked before?
Yeah. Especially somebody who's a pro on the circuit and has been all over the world and been asked a lot of questions.
And
It's hard
out
to
of
find
this
a
world.
good icebreaker. Hey, yeah, absolutely. Literally out of the world.
Literally. And
J-
that's what he really and I've been looking at interviews and that's what he really wants to talk about as far as I can
Hey,
tell.
Yeah.
Joe, I've got an
Absolutely.
idea. I've got a pitch. Now, don't take this pitch because there's a reason I've retired from doing panels for the most part. But ask him only questions about Incubus and demand he respond only in Esperanto. Once
Now,
again, that's for two people, but I'm one of them. So,
Tyler, do you even Katrina, I'm almost positive you're not going to know what that is, are you? He did
I
there is a
don't.
William
movie from the
Shatner,
yeah.
William Shatner. So, Esperanto was originally going to be a language. It was created to replace all other, or not
Make
to
this quick,
replace.
James. We haven't even got to
No, no,
Sunday yet.
but to replace, not replace, but to be a universal language. So it was created, and they made two films in Esperanto. One of them starred a young William Shatner, and to this day, from the last thing I saw him talk about it, he is still fluent in this fictional language of Esperanto. They made a horror movie about about the devil possessing a goat called Incubus, and he's the star, and it's actually not a terrible movie. Check it out. There you go.
Check
The
it out.
language
So,
thing is really interesting.
Joe, you definitely have to touch on that.
I am going to gauge when we get that 10 seconds before we go on stage of which three I'm going to tackle. I'm going to
I think
gauge
it would be interesting.
from that
Okay?
short interaction. Do you know what I'm talking about? Either one of you
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? I can kind of usually. So we'll
Yeah, James.
see.
Joe, and of course, Joe, you got to be responsible to what the fans want. So let me go ahead and just tell you the three: Loaded Weapon One, Incubus, and T.J. Hooker. That's what the kids
Oh,
want, Joe. That's what the kids want. We want to know about riding on the hood of a car
No,
as you're serving us.
I want him to get up and do a few seconds of Rocket Man.
Oh, well,
That's
okay, that's
also an
acceptable.
obscure thing
That's,
from the
that's
70s. Google that.
I think it'd be really interesting to have James as a plant in the audience and let him ask a question in the language and see if he can respond, and then just leave everybody else clueless as to what just happened.
I think that's hilarious. And if James won't do it, you know who's going to do it now? Tyler, who's going to be trained by James. Because you have been kind enough to where it has not been crowded. Or if it's actually been somebody you've been interested in, come sit in on panels before. So I've always
That
appreciated
was fantastic. I
because
love him.
I love them too. That's how I got into it. Now, one of the people always ask me who I'm excited about. I am excited about a ton of people. But we've got, and I'm going to butcher it, and I will have it right by that Saturday. Solil Moon Fry. We have Punky Brewster.
Yes.
That caused some excitement in my social medias.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to talk about that for a little, just a second? I mean, it's not,
Sure.
has she done I don't think, she hasn't done a ton of conventions, has she? If she has, I haven't noticed.
She's pretty new to the circuit, so she's only done a few.
Okay. You're not going
So
any talk a little bit about, I mean, what is that? Is it, did you go after her?
that is a
Or is that one of those sweet things where you knew and it just kind of happened?
no, that is a Jared saw a post that she was at a show and he went, I want her. Three email exchanges later, she was in. So there's not much story there. It was a
Damn it.
holy crap, we have to have her. There she is. She's on the circuit. Let's do it. And now she's coming.
All right. All right. Now, Saturday night, we will have the after party. Do you want to at least, I've got bringing that up. So we've got a ton of panels. There's going to be several rooms going with not only the fan panels, but we also have John Stitt's got a few panels going on the other rooms while I'm doing some other thing while I'm doing these other ones. Um, what time is the after hours party? The costume contest. Let's talk about that at 6 o'clock. The cosplay contest.
Well, before we even get into that, friendly reminder, William Shatner is there Friday, Saturday. Sting is there Saturday only.
Hmm.
David Boreanaz is there Saturday only.
At,
So if those three people are on your list, be there Saturday.
be there Saturday with all the crowds. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, I'm ex I won't say another words. I realize I don't want to go back and cut this later. So, 6 o'clock, we have the cosplay contest, always big. This is the one that I don't MC. I MC it for our other two shows, but this one you always bring in outside talent for. Mike Golden leaves me and goes off to do it.
Costume contest always a huge draw. Even from the very beginning, the first year of Lexington Comic Con, they always rolled high on their initiative check for their costume contest. They've always had a ton of local support and a lot of out of town support, and they have tried to support the people who participate with nice trophies and nice prizes. And that has paid off to the point where no matter how big a room we've found to use, we've always ended up with standing room only and turning people away.
The last
Costume
couple, yeah,
is huge.
yeah, the last couple of years I've tried to sneak in just to watch because I love. People ask me, I get normies all the time going, "You're going to one of those Comic Cons? What are you going to dress up as?" And I go, "Well, I don't dress up." And when you're trying to explain it to them, it's no, these people put in a lot of work. Hundreds of hours I have seen go across that stage over the years, hundreds of hours, and it's crazy. And I always say I don't have that kind of time or dedication. It's really the dedication. I don't have that kind of dedication to do that.
Don't sell yourself short, Joe. You also don't have the talent, the intestinal fortitude. I mean, there's a lot. I could go on.
Or anybody who'd give two shits. You're absolutely right. I don't have any of that. Caring, love, a future. Thanks, James. I forgot where I was for a
Just
split
keeping it
second.
real for you, brother.
Kmart
For
Tyler will keep on rolling.
you.
I probably more like Dollar General. Anyway, so that night, who do we have for the band for the VIP?
The Talks Hards.
This is new to me.
They have been on tour with the Mummies. So if you came to the VIP party last year, they got the Mummies seal of approval, so they're coming to hang out with us now.
Cool.
They are online. You can find a bunch of their videos and their content on YouTube. They seem like they are a very fun, high energy. I don't know that party is the right word, but it's that kind of vibe. They want you to be involved and they want you to get out and have a good time. They don't want to just stand in front of an audience and perform while the audience just shakes their head. They want crowd feedback. The Mummies were fantastic. We got such a huge positive response for those guys. And I think the Toxhards, although an unknown entity, will have a very similar response. And we're excited. I think those guys are on their way up in popularity, and we will have had them before they hit the big time. And you can say you saw them before.
I'm excited. I tell you, the last year with the Mummies was hard to beat.
That was a
That
fun
and
trip.
Tom Kenny over the last couple of years have been really good. Tom Kenny's band is amazing. So moving right along. Sunday is more of a day. It's more of a, I wouldn't say that it's still crowded, but it's more of a chill, laid back day. I always say if you've got a young kid, Sunday should be a good day to take them, especially if you want to still try to catch some celebrities or see some panels. Sunday is just more laid back and more just probably easier to get a smaller child in, especially if you got a stroller and things like that.
Yeah, especially early Sunday before the church crowd comes over to Comic-Con. The crowds are fairly light, easy to navigate. Even if it's your only day there, you can see across the floor and see what you're trying to find. You're not looking past a sea of people.
Right.
You can find an employee and ask for directions real easy. Sunday morning is easy to navigate. Good time to bring first timers too.
So go ahead, Katrina.
No, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was saying Sunday evening, uh, we have a brand new award that we'll be giving out, that this guy will be giving out.
Yeah,
I didn't
talk
know.
about that.
Yeah,
You want me to hear first?
You're in charge of that. We are having our first ribbon contest.
Yeah.
So, the people of Lexington Comic Con can thank Tyler for bringing the ribbon game to Lexington. And this year, because this is our third year doing it,
Yep.
so this year you get a trophy, and it's a whole contest this time.
It was last year or 2 years ago. My ribbons went this way and all the way down because people would just give them to me when they're walking out, when they're leaving the panel and they walk up and I love the ribbon thing. I've kept them all. Even though they fall off, I'll put them on something else to right over here on the wall. I love them. I think they're hilarious.
It happened entirely by accident. A couple years ago, we went to Dragon Con for a research trip and as vendors. And I just saw people with ribbons and I was like, what is that? So I finally saw somebody I knew and I stopped and asked them. They told me what was going on, that people just hand them out. It's just a fun little social interaction. Some they just straight up trade. Some there's a game to get it. Some there's, some objective you have to do, or a million things. Vendors have them. And if you spend $1, you get this ribbon. If you spend $5, you get the shiny gold ribbon. Tons of gimmicks. And just being a guy who grew up with Star Wars as a collector and a completionist, and it was just ingrained in my mind that if it's out there, I gotta have them all. And that's way before Pokemon, but it just stuck in there. So I spent 3 days in Atlanta hunting badges or ribbons for my badge. And I think Jared and everybody else just saw how much fun I had, and that I am not unique in the world of nerd culture, and that
You are my little unicorn.
but we could bring that fun to our show. So we tried to start it ourselves. And the first year it went okay, but people didn't know what was going on. And then the second year, more people had heard about it and they wanted to get involved. And we had a lot of attendees and people who were coming to the show get involved because they saw it last year and now it's back. And how do I play? And then this year we've got a Facebook group and we've had a lot of response from our vendors and some of our regular attendees who are they just have personal ribbons now. So we're hoping that this year goes off like gangbusters, and next year it's, we can rival Dragon Con with our beard and our badge beard game, or whatever the official name is.
I'm excited. I'm actually going to make a post in the next week or two going, hey, you've seen the short guy, the fat guy on stage. Just bring your ribbons by because he wants them. Just come, whatever panel it is. Hey, if you can come in with a ribbon, maybe we can give you a question. I don't know, but I totally love them. I think they're hilarious, and some of them are so inappropriate. And I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah. Very individualized. People
very unique.
Match them up to their costumes. They match them up to their fandoms. They match them up to their personal lives. Like I think Brandon's one year didn't it just say short guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
This year it says I'm now short guy.
I love it. I love it. So before we go, I know I promised you I'd get you all off here in a little while. Is there anything that we're missing that you've got to remember to do before we get there? I mean, other than early check-in, make sure if you're coming Saturday, you already get that ticket. A lot of our people who do it every year already kind of know what we do. There shouldn't be too big of a line. I know you guys talked about that on the Facebook Live. Even if that line's crazy all the way down towards Triangle Park, it moves quick.
It does.
It moves quick.
That's one thing. Tyler and Brandon and Bartram and our wonderful admissions teams have gotten really good in. It's getting people in the door.
Yep.
Biggest tip I can give to anybody, especially a first timer or a returning con goer, is just be prepared for a whole day inside the building. Try to wear comfortable shoes. Try to wear clothing that doesn't get too hot or restrictive. If you know that you're going to need a snack midday and you might not be able to get over to where the food court is, stick a little snack down in your bag and bring it in. And we know that it's going to be hard to get in the building on Saturday morning. We know the lines are going to be long. We're doing everything we can to mitigate that. But if you have patience and make friends with your neighbors in line, it'll go much smoother. And, you'll get to show up to the show in a good mood instead of being grumpy because you had to stand out for a little while.
And
And
nobody
it's one thing
wants
I
a
learned
grumpy
at
Gus.
DragonCon. It's one thing I learned at DragonCon. The line to get in is a great time to trade ribbons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and to make friends. And make
Yeah.
friends.
Get hit on. I mean, all kinds of things can happen.
I have walked down those lines saying hi, and I know there was about every fourth person was like, "Oh my God, that's fat guy." I need to stop saying that. Oh, that will catch on. Or it's, "Oh
It'll
my
get
God,
funny.
why is that random bearded dude talking to me?"
I'll be sure to get you a, name tag that says Kmart Tyler for the panels.
Funny. I just think it's funny. I think that's funny. It doesn't bother me. I think it's hilarious. Sorry.
Blue
Before,
light,
what'd you say, Tyler?
blue light special.
Blue light special. That's me. I'm blue light special, bitch. Now, before we go, sometimes we concentrate on the negative. I'm curious, real quick, or take as much time as you want. And I don't know if James, you have any more questions before I ask this?
I mean, nothing's jumping to mind other
Okay.
than to say I do want to say not a question, but I think it's really cool that both Thomas Jane and Thomas Leonard are going to be there, and both of them have played different extremes of law enforcement, and I just appreciate that.
I know. I'm really sad that I don't think Thomas Jane has a panel, and I was really sad about it, but I completely understand how these things happen. Now, really quick, what is the best story, kind of positive, because we have several of the negative ones that we tell and laugh about later. What's your best positive story from all the years of doing it?
Positive story, I have gotten the chance to become really good friends with a lot of comic guests. There's agents that I consider best friends at this point. Kyle Starks, Jim Shooter. I won't have a show without them
Shooter.
if I can put it. I love them. They are best friends with me at this point.
Did we not
Uh,
have Shooter as a panel this year?
not at the moment. Um,
Man,
but Jim has some issues, so I think he's kind of looking to just kind of
taking it
hang
easy.
at the booth.
Got it.
Yeah, well, not by choice, but I think between me and his agent strong arming him, we're going to make him take it easy.
No, that's fine. Well, and yeah. He and I messaged back and forth the other day a little bit. I was just checking on him. So yeah, I understand. All right. Yeah, I
Real
don't. Go ahead.
Lots of good ones. But real quick, short and sweet one. One year we were fortunate enough to have Kevin Eastman. I grew up as a Ninja Turtles kid. I went by the booth several times and saw his line and saw people having fantastic interactions, but I never had the time to wait in line myself. So as the show was winding down on Sunday, Catrina was showing him where the cars were going to pick him up, and she just happened to see me in the hallway and grabbed me and threw me on an elevator with her and him as they went down. And as he was making small talk, she said, "Oh, hey, Mr. Eastman, by the way, this is my friend Tyler. He works here. He runs our celebrity floor. He's a huge fan, and I like to pride myself on not getting starstruck, that I can be professional. But the only thing I could squeeze out in the elevator was nice to meet you. Because that guy's silly joke decades ago had such a profound impact on my life that it resulted in me standing in that elevator. And that was a whole lot of consequence and cosmic good fortune that just impacted me real quick. And that's part of Comic Con, man.
It is. I have a bunch from many different ones, but one of the positive ones, and I'll talk about it. And then Katrina did this for me. And I don't know if I've ever got to say it actually out and about. But my favorite director has always been Sam Raimi, and people always ask me who I'm excited about. And a lot of you can't really do what I do and get starstruck too much. You'd be pointless. And I always have people go, "Well, how do you do it?" And explain. I can show you how to do it, or I can tell you kind of. I can't get you in, but I can show you how I do it. And she Sam Raimi was going to be there, and she sent me a picture of the signature, or I think that's what it was, when he signed to be there. And I had to keep my mouth shut for a few weeks, and it just meant the world to me that she actually remembered that about me, and that she was trying to give me something a little special. Not that she hasn't over the years, but I just wanted to say out loud, thank you.
Okay.
And I
The
lost
whole
my voice the night before we were going to do that effing panel. And it's the one thing, it's the one. Now, we had a great time in the green room, but the panel, oh my God, my voice just kept going and going and going. And it's the one, if I had it back, I would give so much to have that one back. But I do appreciate you, just that little nice thing you did for me.
Well, I always say that my whole goal, can't talk. My whole goal in doing this is to bring something for everyone. Sometimes I get to bring a guest that I'm really excited about. I had Steve Burton a few years ago, who voices Cloud Strife. But most importantly to me, he's Jason Morgan on General Hospital. This year, I have The Weekend at Bernie's cast. I love that movie. I love it so much. At some point, I'm going to get Alan Tudyk to the show when
We've
he's
got to
not
get,
busy.
we have got to, well, he works. He just is always working. And by the way,
He's
Terry,
always busy.
I don't know if I have met Terry Kaiser before, who plays Bernie, and I don't know if you've dealt with him much. He was just as nice as he could be because I only got like, it's one of those where, oh, you're working at the show? What all did you get to do? I don't know. I was up there doing that. Don't get me wrong. I know my job is a privilege and I appreciate that, but I'm with Tyler. When was the chance that you got to go hang out in line to go try to get something signed or get a picture? So
Yeah.
Terry, was nice enough at another show to talk to me for a minute because somebody said because I didn't get to meet him. So I do appreciate that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And we had the Eddie and the Cruisers guys. That was a big thing for me and Jared. This year we're doing the Ninja Turtle reunion.
Which my kid
I,
is so stoked for.
I was so excited texting Tyler to be like, "Hey, we're working on this." Just to.
Oh, I was excited to read the text.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate enough that we try to do things that we think are cool, but also my goal is to do something that something for everyone.
Yep.
That way, anybody that comes can find something that they enjoy while at our show.
I agree. All right. I want to thank you both so much. Is there anything you need to say before we go?
Check in early. Make sure you do that.
This is where
You
you
can
say
really
that
don't wait till the last minute. Buy your tickets now.
yes.
Go up on March 1st. Buy them before March 1st. And if you ask Joe nicely, he might be able to get you some tickets if you participate in a fun scheme that he
I have
devises.
not figured out fun scheme, so that's actually one of my I'll try to be positive since we're being so positive. One of my pet peeves, and I'm assuming it happens to the two of you, is, oh, hey, person who only talks to me once a year.
I'm right here,
Does
Joe.
that,
I'm
does
right
that,
here.
does that sound true to you two down there?
It happens on occasion.
A little bit, not as often as I'd expect, just because
Oh,
people get
oh,
tired of
does
talking
it?
to me. Yeah.
Well, this time whatever crazy scheme you devise, like you're in charge of this. But if you're willing to do it,
I am willing to do it. Yes,
I
I
mean,
will.
make them do jumping jacks or
Are you going to be in town so I can pick up said tickets to give these to the people who win them in the next couple of
I'll
weeks?
be in town Tuesday.
So can I text you Tuesday to remind you? Or do you want me to text you Monday night to remind you?
Remind me Monday night, but you can pick them up on Tuesday.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I'll remember. I'll remember tomorrow night. Now, thank you both so much for coming on. Please
Very
come
well.
down and see us. I want to make sure that everybody knows the panels are free. This is something, there was a person that I used to work with 10 years ago on Facebook. These questions don't bother me. And I hope people understood that, oh, it's just the one time a year anyone ever talks to me wants something free, but that's beside the point. They had a really good question, like panels, things like that. Are they're free? Just come in, general admission. You just pay for signatures, things you buy, things like that. Photo ops, those things you pay for. You can come and have a fantastic time at almost any convention and not get one thing signed, not get one photo op, and not buy one thing. Now we encourage you to do those things if you can afford it, but if you can't and just want to come, it's a great time.
Yep.
Just
Buy the ticket, take the ride.
buy the
Just
ticket, take the ride.
buy the ticket to get in the door, and you'll still have a phenomenal experience seeing everything that you're going to see.
Just come people watch. Just come get to see the cosplays. Just watch the chaos that is somewhat organized sometimes.
Come people watch and make sure that you buy Tyler, Catrina, and me a drink. This has been Bonehead Weekly.